All right. We woke up to some interesting news. We're going to go over all that and more right now on today's edition of Ball State of the Union.
We're talking Ball State. Don Shondell and Ray McCallum talking Ball State. Nate Davis and Bonzi Wells, Schumann, Bell Tower, and Worthen. Fans Oliver from Muncie to Berlin. Getting Cannons, Carters, and Greeks.
All right. It is a very important day. First off, we have our friend Colin from Ball State Football Talk. Now, Colin, we actually recorded a show last night that was supposed to come out today. The problem is we all woke up to some interesting news this morning. For the first time in almost a decade, Ball State football has a new head coach. And that would be Mike Uremovich, 19th head coach in Ball State history. Now, Colin, you saw last night, kind of after we got done recording, the rumblings of this starting. What are kind of your initial thoughts last night when you first saw the name Mike Uremovich and he's going to be the head coach of Ball State?
I don't know if you could hear my cat Buster.
I hear him a
She's
little
loving
bit.
the news. She's
Yeah.
loving the news. When I first saw it, I didn't know exactly how to feel because I didn't know a ton about him. I did go and research him. Looks like he has a sub 500 record, but a lot of that was from early at St. Francis. While he's been at Butler, he's 23-11. So it looks like his his record's a little better than what it looks like on paper. He got big praise from Tony Dungy today. I think he was coaching his kid.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
so
I did
far,
see that.
I'm good with it. I like it.
Yeah. No, it's not necessarily a name that we really saw thrown out there a lot. And in the episode yesterday, that was one of the talking points was, who the head coach was going to be. We didn't know at this time. And that his name never really came up. I mean, I feel like maybe at the beginning, I kind of saw some people just casually throw out there like, oh, maybe we should get the coach from Butler. Looks like they've kind of turned things around. But again, it was so nonchalant that people didn't even really include his name when he did it. And so, I saw it last night and at first, just kind of had maybe a little lukewarm reaction to it. But then I did a little bit of digging and I kind of liked a little bit what I saw. So let's kind of pull up here.
John, before we get started, real quick,
Yo.
was it weird that they released it before 8 a.m.
So
on a Wednesday? I just thought that was kind of strange.
I think what happened was, I assume it has something to do with National Signing Day. I would think that would have something somewhat to do with it. And the Sidelines Ball State guy, he had mentioned that they had scheduled now who knows how true this is or not, that they had scheduled a team meeting at Butler at like 7 a.m. So I don't know, like the timing of it. I assume they did it early in the morning, announced it really early so that he could basically get up here and let his team Butler know. They probably had other things going on with their signing day as well. I would think that has something to do with it, but I don't know. Yeah, it kind of just came out of the blue really this morning. Aside from it's starting to leak last night that happened, and obviously you can tell that this was determined already because they had a lot of stuff ready to roll this morning.
Definitely.
They had an interview going, which is a great interview. I thought. I'm sure you watched it, but
yep.
I thought you said. So
shout out Mick Pedro.
Yep, he was ready to roll. So if we look here, like you mentioned, head coach at St. Francis University, which I've heard of St. Francis before, but not this one necessarily. And you look at the years 2005 to 2007, you can definitely see a spike when he kind of took over the 0-7 in conference, 2-9, and then by the end of it, going 10-3. From there, it looks like where'd he go? He went to, unfortunately, Northern Illinois, which is going to come up, I'm sure, a handful of times. A coach 3 times there, associate head coach at one time. And then he ends up coaching down at Butler, taking over. And it looks like he had 3 pretty good years in a row. It ended up going, 23-11. So, it seems like he's kind of had different opportunities at different levels and kind of is going up each time and having success at each level, which is nice to see. So obviously this is a different beast. He's going to have scholarships to deal with. theoretically he would have NIL money to deal with, which I'm sure they can have at all levels, but it's probably not as big of a thing. So, uh, yeah, just kind of crazy to see that basically after almost 10 years we have a new coach that's going to be manning the sidelines. So, what are kind of some of your, I guess, pros and cons of the hire that you've had a little time to marinate now? What are some things you like about it? Maybe what are some things that you're still a little skeptical about?
What I like about it, he's got a footprint in recruiting in Indiana already. I think that's one of the biggest things. That's super important. My least favorite thing, and it's kind of small really because there's not a lot to hate. My least favorite thing might be that he worked for NIU 3 times.
Yeah, three
I had
times.
some people ask me, like, what does it matter? But I think those people maybe aren't diehards.
Yeah.
But I think we can get past that. I mean, we have to give him some time regardless of what's going to happen here. And
Mm-hmm.
I think he's going to surprise a lot of people. I saw some people tweeting me saying, "Bet the house on Ball State making a bowl game next year." That's interesting because the odds are going to be crazy for that.
Yeah.
I'm not saying bet, but if you do bet, maybe look at that. I don't really know. We got to really see. Does he bring back some Monza? Does he bring back Koziel? Does he bring back Bowick? There's a lot of guys that jumped in the transfer portal. How convincing is he?
Yeah, and I guess one thing I want to mention about the transfer portal, because I feel like I've seen it every time this happens the last couple of years when the portal opens. Just because someone enters the transfer portal, and you alluded to this just now, does not mean that they're leaving.
Right.
I mean, you look at Tanner Koziel last year. It looks like he was going to Louisville last year.
Mm-hmm.
He said he's going to Louisville, and he ends up coming back. So just because these guys enter the portal, they're just kind of testing the waters. Now, are some of them going to leave? Absolutely, they're going to, and that's for every team. But he can come in now that we have a coach, and he can get in front of them. I'm sure that's probably one of the first things they did was get in front of these guys that they think they could be potentially worried about them leaving, and really sitting down and giving them the vision, which is what he said in that 5-minute introduction video that they had ready this morning. But yeah, you said knowing knowing Indiana already, he made a good point too, where he really wanted to focus on Indiana, Ohio, Michigan, and Illinois. So really getting those driving distance places, and you have huge hubs and huge cities in all those places. You could even theoretically, if you're going kind of, you're saying Indianapolis, Detroit, probably all the way up to Cleveland, Chicago. You could even say like St. Louis as well. Like you have a bunch of big cities, and if you really want to focus in those areas, which I'm sure we always probably do to just geographically, but if you really hit on those areas, I think that's always probably better than not.
John, another player that entered the portal last year and came back was Pemberton too, Von Pemberton.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Yep.
did see that he entered the portal again. It'll be interesting to see what happens there. I love him as a number 2 back.
Yep.
I love him as a number 2 back. He's like perfect. I mean, if you got a small guy, what can you ask for more than a big bruiser like him?
Yeah, he's always pretty reliable to come in there, get some tough yards for you. He has a little bit of a sneaky speed as well. He can bust
Yeah.
something out every so often. But
Hmm.
yeah, I did see that as well today. But yeah, and then your other comment about NIU. I mean, yeah, if you're a true diehard Ball State fan, you're not going to like that no matter what. It almost feels like it's like an inside job that they've set up against us here. But
Right.
um,
You got to think he's got a good rapport with the Indiana high school coaches,
yeah,
just
I would
from
think
recruiting
so.
from Butler already.
Yeah, recruiting from Butler already, and then like since he was at NIU so often, he's been recruiting this area and working in the MAC conference for some time now, so he's pretty familiar with that as well. So it's not like we're hiring someone from an FCS school out in Arizona or somewhere like that. It's an FCS school right down the road from us in Indianapolis. And I did see a funny thing you pointed out was you liked seeing that a lot of Butler fans were pretty upset about it. So that was kind of a good point I hadn't thought about was, if those guys are coming out and saying that they're upset that they lost this coach, that he might actually be a pretty good coach.
Definitely. The thing you never want to see is you stole somebody's coaches, and everyone's fans on that team are rejoicing.
It's happy.
Not
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
sign.
Yeah. You don't want that. But yeah, so kind of, I'll reiterate a couple of the few points that you made, but yeah, I like that he's been a head coach at a couple different spots at different levels and has been able to prove at each level, he's able to get the job done. Um, I like Indiana aspect. That's always going to be important in the Midwest aspect. Um, my only cons that I have, aside from the NIU one, which at the end of the day is probably not going to be a big deal, but it's still kind of a tough pill to swallow a little bit. But it's just that how is he going to be able to manage these differences at this level? They have scholarships. They have a lot of scholarships now. They have all this. They have theoretically should have all this money that they would have to handle. Like, are they going to be? Is he going to be able to handle that hurdle as well? And based on what I'm seeing, that shouldn't be an issue, but it is, somewhat of a cause for concern. Just to once you're the head person and things are different than you're used to, it doesn't always work out. By any means. So it's just kind of it's a wait and see approach. And I think it's wise of everyone to go back to thinking when you have a new coach. It's been a while since we've had one. You really need to give them 3-4 years to really kind of get their groundwork laid, and especially in this day and age, it honestly might be even longer. Theoretically, in a perfect world, it would probably be almost 5 years. Now, I don't think people are going to just give you 5 years just because of that. Like, you're going to have to adapt and figure out how to keep guys and how to get because you have to recruit high school players now and your own team every single year. Like, you're just basically recruiting everyone nonstop, and so theoretically that should get you a little more leeway. But since we haven't had a new coach in a while, just everyone remember, like, if they come out next year and just look horrible, you got to give them some time. It's a marathon, not a sprint. So yeah, overall, wasn't a name I was really expecting, but it's not one that I'm necessarily upset about either. So
2 quick questions, John. 2 quick
okay.
questions. Are they allowing him to hire his own staff, or is it going to be people that are already there now, and then he's just the head coach now? Did they say anything about that?
I for some reason thought they said the defensive coordinator is staying.
Okay.
It is maybe someone from they work together at Northern Illinois or something along those lines. But I think beside that, that's the only name, and I could be wrong on that.
Is
But
Colin Johnson staying?
I don't know. The only thing I think I've heard is the defensive coordinator
See,
so
I've
far.
heard good things about Colin Johnson, so I feel like it might be a loss if we lose him too.
Yeah.
But hopefully they replace him. Second question, I know it was a 5-year deal. Did they release the numbers, like how much we're paying?
I haven't seen that. They might have. I haven't seen it or really actively went out and looked for it. But yeah, I did see it was a 5-year deal. Let me see. Let me look on my phone real quick.
I'm just curious. I'm just really curious. We are doing a buyout right now. I think we just had to buy Mike New out of 1 year.
Yeah.
But I wonder what, like, if any, did that affect the contract that we gave him? I know he's coming from Butler, which isn't a D1 FBS school. So I don't know. Maybe did we have to pay him less than we would have had to pay someone that was maybe? I mean, obviously, if we were going to get Bryant Haynes, we'd be paying a hell of a lot more, I'm sure. But I'm just curious, like how that factored in, if it did at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah. So I was re-looking back at the ESPN article from this morning, kind of when Pete Thamel officially broke the news. It just says 5 years, doesn't have anything about money. I would guess, if I had to take a guess here, since it's a 5-year deal and not a 4-year deal, my guess would be they're paying him less this year and then kind of bump it up. They maybe came back and said, hey, since we had to buy out Mike New, we'll add an extra year on, but you're not going to make as much money this year. Or it could be something like that. Theoretically, you would think they would just be a 4-year deal. But that is just speculation. I have no actual information on that. That's just kind of me trying to put 2 and 2 together.
What's his focus on? Is he an offensive coach? Is he a defensive coach? What are we gonna see, you think, from this upcoming year?
I'm not really sure. Let's kind of look back through his history here. So I'm seeing a lot of offense. I'm seeing wide receivers coach, offensive coordinator, running backs, O-line, basically everything except for, when he was a high school coach is pretty much all offense. So I'm assuming he's an offensive focused coach. Again, I haven't really got into too much of that or seen much about it, but just based on his coaching history that I just looked through, it all looks offensive. So that's kind of what I would prefer in a head coach. I'd prefer an offensive coach. than as opposed to a defensive one. Now, obviously, we just had one of those, and we had a pretty substandard defense. So maybe I'll be kicking myself in 10 months from now, but it looks like offense. So I'm hoping that they really focus on getting those offensive players back who are kind of maybe on the bubble, and really just kind of going
D.D.
from there.
Snyder too. Call
Yep.
D.D. Snyder. Call Ty Baldwin.
Mm-hmm.
Call him up.
Yes, I mean, you shouldn't. They're not going to just let everyone just walk out the door just because they have a new coach. They're going to try. Now, some guys they're probably just going to say, okay, whatever. But yeah, your top end guys who make plays where you can play and we're on the field, they're gonna call and try and get you back. Now, are they going to be able to? Time will tell. We'll see. But yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at with all this. I like what I've seen, the little research I've been able to do so far, and we'll see. I'm sure you're probably happy to see Friday at I think 3:00. They're having an actual press conference for you.
I love it.
I don't know if you saw that or not, but they're doing an introductory press conference on Friday. So
You
they'll probably
know,
have.
I am one that loves any content they'll give us. Press conferences, you know, I got a thing for them, but I'm giving them a little slack here. I understand what may have happened with the other press conferences.
Yeah.
Apparently, there's actually no room at Kent State, Buffalo, or Ohio,
Mm-hmm.
which is interesting. I wouldn't think a MAC school didn't have press conference rooms, but that's neither here nor there. I don't want to get on a tangent. Someone spoke with me. I understand it. We're good. But thank you for having a press conference. I do love press conferences.
And a little bit of foreshadowing. The episode that was supposed to be released today, we get into some of that. So that didn't come out today because we said last night when we recorded it will come out today unless we hire a coach. And of course, basically right after we finished recording, it came out that we were going to hire a coach. So if you're interested in some, we'll just say Yuletide greetings about Ball State, stay tuned in the next couple days, and we'll have a nice episode for you, a long episode for you. All right. Do you have anything else on Mike Uremovich, our new head coach?
That's all I got. Chirp, chirp. Happy holidays. Look out for the next video. The next one's a banger. This was just a little taste of what's to come. The next one, I think, even better.
Before we go, though, actually, I had one more thing, and we can get together at a different date if we need to do more. But any thoughts or anything on National Signing Day? I'm not usually the biggest. I don't usually follow that the closest. Anything that you saw from that you thought was notable, or we just kind of, my thought on it always is when camp starts your freshman year and you're actually on the field, that's when I'll really be worried about what's going on with you, because so many things can happen between now and then. But I don't know if you look into more of that stuff.
Yeah, I saw a little bit of something here and there. I like combing through the data. You know, give me a couple days. Let me see who's coming. I'll comb through it, write their names down, Google them, check it out, look at 247. Like I am interested in that stuff, so I will
Okay.
have something for you. It's a little early for me right now,
Mm-hmm.
but give it time and I'll see bright spots, see people I like, people I want to see more of. But right now, I don't have anybody by name.
Okay. Perfect. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at as well. So I'm gonna lean on you. That's your homework assignment for the next time
For
we
sure.
talk. Is give me your report card. Give me a report card on who we like so far. So, okay, yeah, I think that covers everything, Coach Uremovich. We're excited to have you here, and hopefully we do a lot of chirping in the next 5 years. So that's all for today. Colin on Ball State Football Talk on Twitter and X. Be sure to give him a follow. Be sure to follow, subscribe to our channel here, Ball State of the Union on YouTube, and we will see you next time. Chirp, chirp.